The explosions shook the ground beneath Captain Yuna Kang's boots. She pressed herself against the broken wall, breathing hard, her rifle hot in her hands. Around her, the ruins of the colony settlement burned. Black smoke rose into the purple sky of this dying world. "Contact left!" Lieutenant Jiho Park shouted from her right side. His weapon fired in short, controlled bursts. The screaming sound of the hive creatures filled the air. They were everywhere, pouring from the tunnels like a nightmare made real. Yuna checked her tactical display. The blue markers, showing her human squad, were holding their position. But the red markers, the Vryn warriors who were supposed to be their allies, were surrounded. They had charged straight into the hive nest, believing their strength and honor would carry them through. Now they were paying for that mistake. "They're going to die if we don't move now," Jiho said. He was young, only 23, but he had good eyes. He saw what Yuna saw. "I know," Yuna replied. She was 31 and had been fighting for 12 years. She had seen a lot of people die. Too many. "Get everyone ready. We're going in." "Captain, the Vryn called us weak. They said humans shouldn't even be in this fight." Jiho's voice was tight with anger. "They did," Yuna agreed. She checked her ammunition count. Low, but enough. "But we don't leave allies to die, even if they're idiots." She opened the squad channel. "All units, this is Kang. We're executing Plan Delta. Hit them from 3 sides, make noise, fall back to the ridge. Draw them away from the Vryn position. Move in 30 seconds. Her soldiers acknowledged the order. They were good people. They trusted her. That trust was heavy sometimes. Yuna counted down in her head. When the time came, she moved. Her squad erupted from cover like a swarm, firing and shouting. The hive creatures turned toward them. Drawn by the sudden chaos, that was what Yuna wanted. Humans weren't strong like the Vryn. They couldn't tear these monsters apart with their bare hands. But they could be smart. They could be fast. They could make the enemy do what they wanted. The plan worked. The hive pulled away from the Vryn warriors, chasing the humans instead. Yuna ran hard, jumping over debris, sliding into cover, firing when she could. Her heart pounded. Fear was there, like always. But she didn't let it control her. Fall back, she ordered. Her people moved like water, fluid and quick. The hive followed them right into the killing zone Yuna had picked out earlier. When the creatures were clustered together, she triggered the charges her demo expert had planted. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. Fire reached into the sky. The hive screamed as they died. In the sudden quiet that followed, Yuna heard heavy footsteps. She turned, rifle ready, then lowered it. The Vryn warriors were approaching. They were massive, each one standing nearly 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and armored skin that looked like stone. Their leader, War Prince Thexnor, towered over all of them. He stopped in front of Yuna. His face was hard to read, alien features, predator's eyes, but she had learned to recognize some Vryn expressions. He looked surprised. "You saved my warriors," Thexnor said. His voice was deep, like thunder in the distance. "We're allies," Yuna replied simply. "We don't leave anyone behind." Thexnor stared at her for a long moment. "By Vryn law, I owe you a life debt. I will..." "No." Yuna cut him off. She was tired, dirty, and had lost 2 good soldiers today. She didn't have patience for alien honor rituals. "You don't owe me anything. We're on the same side. That's enough." The war prince looked confused. Around him, his warriors muttered to each other in their clicking language. Yuna knew she had just done something they didn't understand. The Vryn were all about honor and debt and formal rules. Humans were different. "You refuse my debt?" Thexnor asked. "This is a great honor among my people." "I'm sure it is," Yuna said. "But I'm human. We help each other because it's right, not because we owe debts. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have wounded to care for and dead to honor." She walked away before he could respond. Jiho fell in beside her. That was harsh, Captain, he said quietly. Maybe, Yuna admitted. But I meant it. I'm tired of their superior attitude. They think we're weak because we're small. They think honor in battle means charging straight ahead and dying gloriously. I'd rather live and win. Back at the extraction point, Yuna checked on her wounded. The medics were working hard. She knew every name, every face. These were her people. When the transport ships arrived, she made sure everyone got on board, human and Vryn both. On the flight back to the Coalition flagship, Yuna sat alone in the cargo bay. She cleaned her rifle with practiced movements, not really thinking about it. Her body ached. She had bruises forming under her armor, and her left shoulder throbbed where she had hit the ground too hard. She didn't notice Thexnor enter until he sat down across from her. The war prince barely fit in the human-sized space. You fight well, he said after a moment of silence. Thank you, Yuna replied, not looking up from her rifle. But your tactics are strange. You run away. You hide. You use tricks. Is this what human honor looks like? Now Yuna did look up. She met his alien eyes without fear. Human honor looks like bringing my people home alive. It looks like completing the mission, no matter what it costs us. We don't have thick armor like you. We don't have forearms or natural weapons. We're small and soft, and easy to kill. So we adapt. We think. We survive. You call this strength? Thexnor asked. He didn't sound mocking, just curious. I call it practical, Yuna said. You can call it whatever you want. But we destroyed that hive nest today. And we saved your warriors. Results matter more than style. The war prince was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I will be watching you, Captain Kang. You are a puzzle I wish to understand. Yuna shrugged. Watch all you want. Just try not to get in the way. When they arrived at the Coalition flagship Eternal Dawn, word of the battle had already spread. The human squad that saved the mighty Vryn warriors. Some of the other Coalition species looked at Yuna's team with new respect. Others whispered that the Vryn were getting soft. That night, Yuna wrote letters to the families of the 2 soldiers she had lost. She always did this herself. She never used templates or let someone else do it. These people deserved to know exactly how their loved ones had died, and that they had mattered. When she finally got to her quarters, she was exhausted. But she couldn't sleep yet. Tomorrow, there would be another briefing. Another mission. The hive was still out there, still spreading, still killing. And the Coalition needed every warrior they had, human or otherwise. Yuna looked at herself in the mirror. Dirt on her face. Blood on her armor. Eyes tired but determined. This was what a human warrior looked like. Not impressive. Not powerful. Just stubborn. And sometimes, stubborn was enough. The briefing room on the Eternal Dawn was crowded with officers from a dozen different species. Yuna sat at the long table, her hands folded in front of her, listening to Admiral Vex Tar drone on about supply lines and reinforcement schedules. Across from her, War Prince Thexnor sat like a statue, his 4 arms crossed in what she had learned was a sign of patience among his people. When the Admiral finally got to the important part, Yuna leaned forward. Captain Kang, War Prince Thexnor, the Admiral said, his translator making his words understandable despite his species' natural clicking speech. Coalition Command has a mission for you. A joint operation. There is a hive nest world in the Kepler sector. Intelligence says it's their breeding ground for this region. We need to destroy it. Yuna nodded. Understood, sir. What are we working with? Your human strike team, combined with the War Prince's Imperial Guard. You will plan and execute the operation together. The Admiral's expression was hard to read on his insectoid face, but Yuna thought he looked doubtful. Try not to kill each other before you kill the hive. After the briefing ended, Yuna and Thexnor were directed to a planning room. It was just the 2 of them, and a tactical display showing the nest world. The planet rotated slowly in the hologram, red markers showing hive concentrations. I will lead the assault, Thexnor announced immediately. My warriors will strike at the main nest. Your humans can provide support. Yuna studied the display, ignoring his declaration. The main nest is too well defended for a frontal assault. We need to hit these 3 secondary nests first, draw their forces out, then strike the primary objective when it's weak. That is cowards' talk, Thexnor said. His voice was hard. Warriors face their enemies directly. Yuna turned to look at him. Warriors who face machine gun nests directly just die directly. Is that what you want? To die gloriously and fail the mission? You know nothing of glory, the war prince said. Your people hide and run. You fight without honor. My people win, Yuna shot back. And we go home alive. Can you say the same? They argued for 2 hours. Thexnor wanted a direct assault, trusting in Vrin's strength and armor. Yuna wanted precision strikes, hit-and-run tactics. Using the enemy's size against them, neither would give ground. Finally, Yuna stood up. Fine, we'll do it your way. But when your warriors start dying because you're too proud to be smart, don't say I didn't warn you. She left the planning room angry. Jiho was waiting outside. That bad? He asked. Worse. Yuna muttered. He thinks tactics are beneath him. He just wants to charge in and hit things. Sounds like most Vrin, Jiho said. They've been the coalition's primary military force for centuries. They're not used to anyone questioning them. Well, they better get used to it, Yuna said, because I'm not sending my people to die for someone else's pride. Over the next week, Yuna and Thexnor met daily to plan the operation. Every meeting was a battle. But slowly, Yuna noticed something. The war prince started asking questions, not challenging her, not arguing, just asking. Why did humans prefer smaller units? Why did they train for scenarios instead of for strength? Why did they value adaptability over tradition? One evening, Yuna was in the training bay with her squad. They were running combat drills, practicing room clearing and emergency extractions. She didn't notice Thexnor enter until Jiho pointed him out. We have an audience, Jiho said quietly. Yuna glanced over. The war prince stood at the entrance, watching. He didn't approach, didn't interrupt. He just watched. Let him watch, Yuna said. Maybe he'll learn something. She ran her squad through the drills harder than usual. She wanted to show him what human soldiers could do. They might be smaller than Vrin, weaker in raw strength, but they were fast and smart, and they worked together like parts of one machine. After the training session, Yuna was surprised when Thexnor approached her. Your soldiers train for failure, he observed. Yuna wiped sweat from her face. We train for reality. Things go wrong in combat. Equipment fails. People get hurt. We practice what to do when everything falls apart. Vrin warriors train to be unbreakable, Thexnor said. And what happens when they break anyway? Yuna asked. The war prince had no answer for that. The next day, Ambassador Hana Choi found Yuna in the mess hall. Hana was older, maybe 50, with kind eyes and a sharp mind. She had been a diplomat for 20 years and understood aliens better than anyone Yuna knew. I heard you and the war prince are having difficulties, Hana said, sitting down with her tray of food. That's putting it mildly, Yuna said. He thinks we're cowards. I think he's an arrogant idiot. Hana smiled. He's not an idiot. He's just different. Do you know the history of the Vrin? Not really, Yuna admitted. They evolved on a death world, Hana explained. Everything on their planet wanted to kill them. They survived by being strong, by being tough, by never backing down. For them, retreat means death. Standing firm means survival. It's built into their culture, their psychology, everything they are. And humans? Yuna asked. We evolved differently, Hana said. We were persistence hunters. We weren't the fastest or strongest, but we never gave up. We tracked prey for days. We outlasted everything else. We adapted. We learned. We changed our tactics. That's our strength. Yuna thought about that. So he sees running away as weakness. But for us it's just good tactics. Exactly, Hana said. Neither of you is wrong. You're just different. The trick is learning to use both strengths together. That conversation changed something in Yuna. The next time she met with Thexnor, she tried a different approach. I want to understand something, she said. Why is honor so important to your people? Thexnor seemed surprised by the question. Honor is everything. It is what separates warriors from beasts. It is our legacy, our purpose. Honor? But what does honor mean to you? Yuna pressed. Specifically, it means facing danger without fear. It means keeping your word. It means protecting those weaker than you. It means dying well if death must come. He paused. These things, you understand them, yes? Yes, Yuna said. We just express them differently. When I ran from the hive in that battle, I wasn't being a coward. I was protecting my people. When I use tricks and tactics, I'm trying to complete the mission and bring everyone home. That's my honor. For the first time, something like respect crossed Thexnor's face. I had not considered this, and I hadn't considered your perspective either, Yuna admitted. Your warriors are brave. Braver than anyone I've ever seen. When you charge into battle without fear, that takes incredible courage. I respect that, but you think we are foolish, Thexnor said. Sometimes, Yuna said honestly, but I think you probably think we're cowards sometimes. Maybe we both have things to learn from each other. They worked on the mission plan together after that. Really together. Not just arguing. Thexnor agreed to some of Yuna's tactical suggestions. Yuna agreed that a show of force at certain points would be useful. They found a middle ground. Late one night, Yuna was reviewing the final plans when Thexnor entered her office. I have been thinking, he said without preamble. About what you said. About different kinds of strength. And, Yuna asked, I watched your training again today. I saw your soldiers practice being wounded, practice losing their weapons, practice everything going wrong. At first, I thought this was because humans expect to fail, and now I think it is because humans refuse to fail. Thexnor said slowly. You prepare for the worst, so that when it comes, you can still win. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. Yuna felt a small smile cross her face. You're learning, War Prince. As are you, Captain, he replied. You have begun to see that direct force has its place. That sometimes, fear itself is a weapon. Maybe we'll both survive this mission after all, Yuna said. Perhaps, Thexnor agreed. Though I confess, I still do not understand humans fully. You are so small, so fragile. Your bodies break easily. Yet you fight like you are immortal. Why? Yuna stood up and walked to the window. Outside, stars filled the darkness. Because we know we're fragile. We know we can die. But we decided a long time ago that we'd rather die fighting for something than live on our knees. Every human learns this growing up. We protect each other. We never give up. It's who we are. Thexnor was quiet for a long moment. I look forward to fighting beside you, Captain Kang. The feeling's mutual, Yuna said. And she meant it. The dropships fell through the atmosphere like stones. Inside, Yuna gripped her harness as the ship shook and rattled. Around her, her squad sat ready, weapons checked, faces calm despite the danger. Across the cargo bay, Thexnor and his Vryn warriors waited in their own section. The War Prince caught her eye and nodded once. She nodded back. The mission had started well. They had hit the 3 secondary nests exactly as Yuna planned, drawing hive forces away from the main target. Now came the hard part. The primary nest was deep underground, and they would have to fight their way in. The ships landed hard. Ramps dropped. Yuna was running before her boots hit the ground. Move! Move! She shouted. Her squad spread out in a practiced pattern. Weapons up, scanning for threats. The Vryn warriors charged forward, their war cries echoing across the barren landscape. Thexnor led them, massive and unstoppable. The entrance to the nest was a massive tunnel carved into the rocky ground. Yuna's scanner showed movement inside. Lots of movement. The hive knew they were coming. "Charges set," reported Private Minho, her demo expert. "We can bring the tunnel down on our way out." "Good," Yuna said. "Remember, we get in, plant the core charges, and get out. Fast and clean." They entered the tunnel. It was dark and wet and smelled like death. The walls pulsed with organic matter. The hive built their nests inside living tissue. It was disgusting and terrifying, and Yuna had learned not to think about it too much. The first wave of hive creatures came screaming from the darkness. Yuna's squad opened fire, their weapons lighting up the tunnel. The Vryn waded into close combat, their forearms tearing through the enemy. For a few minutes, the plan worked perfectly. Then everything went wrong. A side tunnel collapsed, cutting Yuna's squad in half. She was on the wrong side with only Jiho and 2 others. The rest of her squad, including Minho with the primary charges, was on the other side of the rubble. "Regroup," Yuna ordered into her comm. "Secondary team, plant your backup charges. We'll meet at extraction point Beta." But Thexnor didn't listen. He saw an opportunity for glory, a chance to strike at the heart of the nest. He charged deeper into the tunnel, his warriors following without question. "Thexnor, stop!" Yuna shouted. "That's not the plan." His reply was broken by static. "We. Strike now." "Hive Queen. Ahead," Yuna cursed. She looked at Jiho. "He's going to get himself killed." "Not our problem, Captain," Jiho said. "We should stick to the mission." He was right. They should. But Yuna thought about what she had told Thexnor. "We don't leave anyone behind. Even allies who were idiots." "Follow me," she ordered. "We're going after them." They ran through the tunnels, following the sounds of combat. The hive was everywhere now, alerted to their presence. Yuna fired and moved, her squad covering each other with practiced precision. She found Thexnor and his warriors in a huge chamber. They were surrounded, fighting desperately. The War Prince had been right about one thing: the Hive Queen was here, a massive creature that towered over everything else. But he had been wrong about being able to fight her. The Queen was protected by hundreds of Hive soldiers, and more were pouring in every second. "Covering fire!" Yuna shouted. Her small squad opened up, drawing some of the Hive attention. It wasn't much, but it was enough to give the Vryn warriors breathing room. Yuna ran to Thexnor's side. "We need to leave. Now. We can kill the Queen," he insisted, even as he fought off 3 attackers at once. "We can die trying," Yuna shouted back. "Is that what you want?" She saw it in his eyes, the moment between pride and survival. Then a Hive warrior came from his blind spot, its blade limb aimed at his neck. Thexnor didn't see it. Wouldn't see it in time. Yuna moved without thinking. She threw herself between the blade and Thexnor. The impact was like being hit by a truck. The alien blade punched through her armor and into her side. Pain exploded through her body, white-hot and all-consuming. She heard Thexnor roar, heard Jiho screaming her name. The world became strange and distant. She fell, but someone caught her. 4 arms, strong and steady. "Yuna," Thexnor's voice, closer than she had ever heard it. "Yuna, stay with me. Told you. To retreat," she managed to say. Blood in her mouth. That wasn't good. "Retreat now," Thexnor bellowed to his warriors. "Back to the extraction point. Move." The Vryn fell back, fighting every step. Thexnor carried Yuna, cradling her against his chest like she weighed nothing. She tried to stay conscious, but the pain was overwhelming. She heard the explosions as Minho triggered the charges, felt the ground shake as the nest began to collapse. Then she was on a ship, and someone was shouting for a medic, and the world went dark. Yuna woke in the medical bay 3 days later. Her first thought was that she was alive, which was surprising. Her second thought was that everything hurt, which was less surprising. A human doctor appeared in her vision. "Captain Kang, welcome back. You had us worried." "My squad?" Yuna asked. Her voice was rough. "All alive. Thanks to you and the War Prince." The mission was a success. The nest is destroyed. And the war prince. All 3-0'd. After the story end. The nest is destroyed. All 3-0'd. The nest is destroyed. The war prince, the 2000 subscribe. And then 41. All 3-0'd and casualties? We lost 5 Vryn warriors and 1 human soldier. Private Day from your squad didn't make it out. I'm sorry. Yuna closed her eyes. Day had been 20 years old. He had talked about becoming a teacher after the war. Now he never would. The war prince has been here every day, the doctor said gently. Waiting for you to wake up. Tell him, I don't want visitors, Yuna said. She was too tired to deal with Vryn honor rituals right now, but Thexnor didn't listen. He came anyway. The next morning, he stood at the foot of her bed, looking uncomfortable in the human-sized medical bay. You should not have done that, he said without greeting. You should not have taken that blow for me. 10. You're welcome, Yuna said dryly. I owe you a life debt, Thexnor continued. By all Vryn law and custom, your life is now worth more than mine. I am bound to. No, Yuna interrupted. She tried to sit up, grimaced at the pain, but managed it. I already told you. I don't want your life debt. I don't want your gratitude. I did what any human would do. I protected a member of my pack. Your pack? Thexnor looked confused. My team. My allies. You. Yuna met his eyes. Don't you understand? This is what we do. Every human learns this from childhood. We protect each other, even at cost to ourselves. Especially at cost to ourselves. It's not about honor or debt. It's about being human. But you nearly died, Thexnor said. For me. An alien who called you weak. You were wrong about that, Yuna said simply. And you're learning. That's enough. The war prince was silent for a long time. Then he said quietly, I do not understand your species. You are the most contradictory beings I have ever encountered. So fragile, yet so fierce. So small, yet so unbreakable. We break. Yuna corrected him. She pulled down her medical gown slightly, showing the fresh bandages covering her side. We break all the time. We just don't stay broken. After Thexnor left, Yuna lay back in her bed. The doctors said she would heal. Humans had remarkable healing abilities compared to most species, another adaptation from their violent evolution. She would have new scars to add to her collection. A week later, they released her from medical. She was weak and sore, but she could walk. When she got to her quarters, she found a message waiting. Thexnor had submitted a formal report to Coalition Command. In it, he recommended that human forces be given equal command status with Vryn forces. He wrote that humanity brought unique tactical value, and that their adaptability made them essential to the war effort. It was the highest praise a Vryn war prince could give. Yuna smiled despite herself. Then she began the painful task of removing her armor for the first time in days. Her body was a map of injuries, old and new. Each scar told a story. Each wound was a reminder of what she had survived. She was human. She broke. She bled. She hurt. But she endured. And somehow, that was enough. 3 weeks after the Nest World mission, Yuna was cleared for light duty. The wound in her side had healed faster than expected, another example of human resilience that amazed the Coalition doctors. But she still moved carefully, still felt the pull of new scar tissue when she twisted wrong. The war continued. The hive pressed forward on a dozen fronts. Every day brought new reports of battles, new casualty lists, new desperate calls for help. Yuna attended briefings, offered tactical advice, but wasn't allowed to return to combat yet. It made her restless. She had noticed Thexnor watching her. Not openly, not obviously, but she had trained herself to be aware of her surroundings. The war prince seemed to appear wherever she was in the command center, in the training bay, in the corridors, always at a distance, always observing. At first, it annoyed her. Then she realized he was trying to understand something. The same way she had studied Vryn combat tactics before working with them, he was studying her. studying humans. One evening, after a particularly frustrating briefing where coalition admirals had argued for hours without making any decisions, Yuna returned to her quarters exhausted. The weight of the war pressed down on her shoulders. They had lost another colony world today. Thousands dead, millions displaced. And the hive kept coming. She didn't notice Thexnor in the corridor outside her quarters. Didn't see him position himself where he could observe through her partially open door. If she had been more alert, less tired, she would have noticed. But she was running on empty, physically and emotionally. Yuna entered her small quarters and immediately began removing her armor. Among Vryn warriors, this was a sacred private moment, never shared with others. But humans didn't have the same customs. Still, it was a vulnerable time. A shedding of the warrior's shell to reveal the person beneath. The chest plate came off first. She placed it carefully on its stand, checking automatically for damage. Then the arm guards, the leg plates, each piece removed with practiced efficiency. Outside, Thexnor watched. He told himself he was ensuring her safety. She was still recovering from serious injuries. But truthfully, he was fascinated by the contradiction she represented. How could something so small, so fragile, be so dangerous in combat? As Yuna's armor came off, the truth revealed itself. Her body was covered in scars, old white lines across her arms, puckered marks on her shoulders. The fresh bandages on her side were just the newest addition to a map of violence written on her skin. Bruises painted her in shades of purple and yellow. Some were healing from the Nest World mission. Others were newer, from training accidents or bumping into things while she was still weak. Her body was a record of every battle fought, every wound taken. Every time she had stood when falling would have been easier. Thexnor felt something shift in his understanding. These scars weren't signs of weakness. They were proof of survival. Each one was a battle she had won simply by living through it. Yuna moved to a small shelf in the corner of her room. Thexnor hadn't noticed it before. On it sat photographs and small objects. She lit 3 candles. And in their light, he saw faces, human faces, Vryn faces, other species he didn't recognize, all of them in military uniforms. Private Day, Yuna said softly to one photograph. A young human male, smiling in the picture. You wanted to be a teacher. You should have made it home. I'm sorry. She moved to another photo. Warrior Krell. You died protecting my squad. I won't forget that. She went through each photograph, speaking names, sharing small memories. Thexnor realized he was witnessing something deeply personal. She was honoring her dead, not just her own species, but all who had fought beside her. She carried their memory, their sacrifice. Halfway through this private ritual, Yuna noticed him. She turned, met his eyes directly. A human might have been embarrassed or angry at being watched. But Yuna simply held his gaze. You wanted to understand humans? She asked quietly. Her voice carried no anger. Just a kind of tired honesty. This is what we are. She continued removing her armor, her movements now deliberate, purposeful. This was no longer just undressing. This was a revelation. We break, she said, gesturing to her scarred body. We scar. We bleed. Look at me. Thexnor. Really look. I'm not strong like you. I don't have armor-plated skin. I don't have 4 arms or superior height or natural weapons. One good hit can kill me. She touched the bandage on her side. This wound would have been minor for you. For me, it nearly ended my life. That's what it means to be human. We're fragile. Everything wants to kill us. Our own planet tried to kill us for millions of years. We survived anyway. Thexnor stepped into the room, drawn forward despite himself. How? He asked. How do you survive when you are so breakable? Yuna picked up one of the photographs, a group shot of her squad. We survive together. We protect each other. We learn from our mistakes. Every scar is a lesson. Every wound teaches us something. She set the photo down gently. We survive because we refuse not to. But the cost, Thexnor said, his eyes on her scars. The pain you must have endured is worth it, Yuna finished. Because we keep fighting. Because we protect what matters. Because giving up isn't in our nature. She sat down heavily on her bunk, suddenly looking very tired. You asked me once why humans fight like we're immortal when we know we're fragile. This is why. Every battle could be our last. Every mission could end us. So we make each one count. She looked up at him, and Thexnor saw something in her eyes he had never seen in a Vryn warrior. Not fearlessness, Vryn had that. Not courage, they had that too. What he saw was acceptance. Acceptance of mortality, of pain, of the terrible cost of war, and the decision to fight anyway. You bear your scars openly, he observed. Why hide them? Yuna asked. They're proof I'm still alive. Every scar is a battle I won by surviving it. Some warriors of your kind see scars as marks of shame, evidence of being hit. We see them as marks of honor, evidence of enduring. Thexnor moved closer. In Vryn culture, this would be unthinkably forward. An invasion of personal space. But he needed to see, to understand. May I? He asked, gesturing to her scars. Yuna nodded. She understood what he was asking. The war prince reached out with one large hand, careful not to touch, just hovering near the various marks on her arms. This one? He asked. Plasma burn. Second year of the war. I was 21 and stupid. Thought I could take cover that wasn't there. This? Hive blade. Got too close. Learned to keep my distance after that. Ah, and this? He indicated the fresh bandages. That one you know, Yuna said with a slight smile. Saving arrogant war princes who don't follow the plan. To her surprise, Thexnor made a sound that might have been laughter. I deserved that. He stepped back, his expression thoughtful. I understand now. When Vryn warriors are injured in battle, we see it as a failure. We are built to be hard to hurt. When we take wounds, it means we were not strong enough. And for humans? Yuna prompted. For humans, being injured is expected. Your strength is not in avoiding wounds but in surviving them, in learning from them, in continuing to fight despite them. He looked at her with something like awe. You are the most dangerous warriors I have ever known. Not because you cannot be broken, but because breaking does not stop you. Yuna felt something warm in her chest. Understanding. Finally, true understanding. We're not trying to be unbreakable, she said. We're trying to be unstoppable. There's a difference. Thexnor was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something that shocked Yuna completely. He knelt before her, lowering himself to her eye level. In Vryn culture, this was a sign of profound respect, reserved only for the greatest warriors. I called you weak, he said. I was wrong. You are the strongest warrior I have ever known, Captain Kang. And I am honored to fight beside you. The feeling is mutual, Yuna said softly. Now get up. You're making me uncomfortable. He rose, but the moment had changed something between them. A barrier had fallen. He had seen her at her most vulnerable, and instead of finding weakness, he had found the truth of human strength. As he turned to leave, Thexnor paused at the door. Thank you, he said, for showing me this, for trusting me with your truth. Don't make me regret it, Yuna said, but there was warmth in her voice. After he left, Yuna finished her private ritual, honoring her dead, acknowledging her scars. But something had changed for her too. She had been seen, truly seen, by someone who finally understood what it meant to be human, and in understanding, he had given her something precious. Respect. Not pity. Not admiration for some imagined perfection, but respect for what she actually was. Fragile. Scarred. Unbreaking. Tomorrow the war would continue. Tomorrow she would put her armor back on and become a soldier again. But tonight, for this moment, she was just Yuna, and that was enough. The news spread through the coalition fleet like wildfire. War Prince Thexnor, commander of the Vryn Imperial Guard, had submitted a formal request to the Coalition Council. He wanted Captain Yuna Kang to receive command authority equal to a Vryn war prince. More than that, he had declared publicly that humans should lead military operations, not just support them. The reaction was immediate and explosive. "This is unprecedented," Admiral Vex Tar said in the emergency council meeting. "The Vryn have led coalition military forces for 800 years. They have never deferred to another species." Tex Nor stood before the council chamber, massive and unmovable. "We have led for 800 years. And in those 800 years, we have fought the Hive to a stalemate. Now humans join the war, and suddenly, we are winning. This is not coincidence. The Vryn are the strongest warriors in the galaxy," protested General Thrak, a Vryn commander. "We do not need these small, weak creatures to lead us." "I thought the same," Thexnor said calmly. "I was wrong. I have fought beside Captain Kang. I have seen what humans can do. They do not win through strength. They win through adaptability, through tactics we would never consider, through a refusal to accept defeat that puts our own honor codes to shame." 2. The council erupted in argument. Yuna watched from the observation deck. Jiho beside her. She hadn't asked for this. Didn't want this kind of attention. "He's going to start a civil war in the coalition," Jiho muttered. "Maybe," Yuna agreed. "But he believes what he's saying." It took 3 days of debate, but the council finally reached a decision. They would test Thexnor's theory. Captain Kang would be given command of a joint task force, human and Vryn together, for one critical operation. If it succeeded, they would reconsider human command authority. If it failed, things would return to normal. Ambassador Hana came to Yuna's quarters that evening. "Congratulations, Captain. You've just been promoted to the most important position in the fleet." "I didn't ask for this," Yuna said. "No, but you earned it," Hana replied. "The question is, what will you do with it?" The operation was launched 2 weeks later. Intelligence had located the Hive's central command node, the brain of their entire operation in this sector. Destroying it could cripple the Hive war effort for months, maybe longer, but it was protected by layers of defense, buried deep in a heavily fortified system. Yuna stood on the bridge of the command ship, looking at the tactical display. Beside her, Thexnor waited in his armor, ready for battle. Around them, the largest combined human-Vryn fleet ever assembled, prepared for combat. "Conventional assault would cost us 70% casualties. Minimum," Jiho reported from the tactical station. "The Hive knows we're coming. They're ready." "Then we don't do a conventional assault," Yuna said. She began issuing orders, her plan unfolding piece by piece. It was bold, risky, and completely unexpected. The fleet would split into multiple groups, attacking from different vectors at different times. Small strike teams would infiltrate the outer defenses, while the main fleet drew attention elsewhere. And at the critical moment, they would do something the Hive would never anticipate. "We're going to run away," Yuna explained to her officers. "The fleet will engage, then retreat in apparent panic. The Hive will chase us, leaving the command node vulnerable. That's when the strike teams hit." "Retreat?" one of the Vryn commanders asked, his voice full of doubt. "You would have us flee like cowards?" "I would have us win," Yuna said simply. "That's all that matters." Thexnor stepped forward. "I trust Captain Kang's plan. My warriors will follow her orders." He looked at the Vryn commander. "Will you?" Slowly, reluctantly, the commander nodded. The battle began exactly as Yuna predicted. The fleet engaged the Hive defenses, fought hard, then began a chaotic retreat. To the Hive, it must have looked like the coalition was breaking. They gave chase, eager to destroy the fleeing ships. Meanwhile, Yuna led the strike team personally. Against medical advice and Jiho's strong objections, she insisted on being part of the ground assault. They slipped through the weakened defenses and pushed toward the command node. The Hive realized the trick too late. By the time they pulled forces back, Yuna's team was inside the facility. The fighting was brutal. Yuna moved through the corridors with her squad, Thex Nor and his warriors at her side. They fought as one unit now, human tactics combined with Vrin's strength. When they reached the command node, Yuna planted the charges herself. Her hands were steady despite the chaos around her. 30 seconds to detonation, she announced. Everyone out, now. They ran. The facility shook as explosions began tearing it apart. Yuna was the last one through the extraction point, diving onto the transport ship as it lifted off. Behind her, the entire command complex collapsed into fire and rubble. The Hive command node was destroyed. The victory was total. When they returned to the fleet, they were met with shocked silence that turned into cheering. Word spread quickly. The impossible mission had succeeded. Human tactics had won a battle the Vrin way would have lost. In the aftermath, Coalition Command convened again. This time, there was no debate. Admiral Vextar himself made the announcement. Effective immediately, human forces are granted full command authority within the Coalition military. Captain Yuna Kang is promoted to Fleet Commander with authority over all joint operations. The galaxy watched in amazement. Humans, the newest and physically weakest member of the Coalition, would now lead its military forces. But the biggest surprise came 3 months later. The Vrin Empire, ancient and proud, made an unprecedented offer. War Prince Thex Nor requested a formal union with Fleet Commander Yuna Kang. Not a military alliance, a personal union. In Vrin culture, this was the highest honor. A bond between warriors who had proven themselves equal in battle. The announcement shocked everyone. Such unions between different species were extremely rare. And between a Vrin royal and a human? Unheard of. Yuna was in her office when Ambassador Hana brought her the formal proposal. You don't have to accept, Hana said carefully. This is purely your choice. The political implications are enormous. But this is purely your choice. But that's not why he asked, Yuna finished. She looked at the formal document. Written in both Vrin script and human language. He asked because he actually wants this. Do you? Hana asked gently. Yuna thought about it. Thought about the Vrin war prince who had called her weak and learned to see her strength, who had watched her remove her armor and seen the truth beneath, who had knelt before her in respect and changed the course of the war because he believed in her. Yes, she said. I do. The ceremony was held on the eternal dawn, witnessed by representatives from every coalition species. Yuna stood in her dress uniform, her scars visible on her arms, her head held high. Thex Nor stood beside her in his ceremonial armor, his forearms clasped in the traditional gesture of unity. When it came time for Yuna to speak, she addressed not just those present, but the entire galaxy watching the broadcast. You see humans as fragile, because we break easily, she said. But you misunderstand. Our strength was never in being unbreakable. Our strength is in getting back up. Every single time. In learning from our wounds, in protecting each other no matter the cost. In refusing to accept defeat, even when victory seems impossible. She looked at Thex Nor, then back at the assembled witnesses. The Vrin taught us about honor and courage in battle. We're teaching them about adaptability and resilience. Together, we're stronger than either could be alone. That's what this union represents, not one species over another, but all of us learning from each other. Thex Nor spoke next, his deep voice carrying through the hall. I called humans weak. I was blind. True strength is not in never falling. True strength is in rising. Every time you fall, humans have shown us this truth. And in doing so, they have saved the coalition. The ceremony completed with the traditional Vrin and human elements combined. When it was done, Yuna and Thex Nor stood together before the galaxy as symbols of a new coalition, one that valued adaptability over tradition, cooperation over pride. Later, in the quiet of their shared quarters, Thex Nor asked her, "Do you regret this?" You could have refused. My people would have understood. Yuna looked up at him and smiled. I told you once that I protect my pack. You're part of that pack now. Maybe you always were, From the moment you started trying to understand us instead of just dismissing us. You have taught me much, Thexnor said. About strength, about sacrifice, about what it truly means to be a warrior. And you taught me that honor and tactics don't have to be enemies, Yuna replied. That different doesn't mean wrong. That the galaxy is big enough for all kinds of strength. In the months that followed, the Human-Vryn alliance became the foundation of coalition victory, under Yuna's command, using combined tactics that blended human adaptability with Vryn strength. They pushed the hive back on every front. Other species began adopting human tactical doctrines, began seeing that different approaches had value. The war was far from over. There would be more battles, more losses, more scars to add to the collection. But for the first time since the hive invasion began, the coalition was winning, not through strength alone, but through the willingness to learn, to adapt, to combine the best of what each species offered. And at the center of it all was a small, scarred human woman and a massive Vryn war prince, proving that the most unlikely alliances could change the galaxy. Yuna stood on the observation deck one evening, looking out at the stars. Texnor found her there, as he often did. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "That we're going to win this war," Yuna said. "Not because we're unbeatable, but because we refuse to be beaten. Because we learn from every mistake. Because we protect each other." She looked up at him. "Because we're stubborn enough to keep fighting even when everyone says we should give up." "Very human," Thexnor observed. "Very human," Yuna agreed. "And now, a little bit Vryn too. We're teaching each other. That's our real strength." In the distance, ships prepared for the next battle. The war continued. But now they fought together, humans and Vryn and all the species of the coalition, learning that strength came in many forms, that the fragile could be fierce, that breaking did not mean defeated, that sometimes the greatest warriors were the ones who refused to stay down. And it all began with a moment of vulnerability, when a war prince watched a human captain remove her armor and finally understood what strength really meant.